Now you can see?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Okay. So in last class, we covered till 10 verses. And today, we will start with a very important theme that, okay, those who surrender to Krishna, they achieve the divine nature. But what about others who may not directly surrender to Krishna? Is there any hope for them? Yes, there is hope for them because ultimately all paths take to Krishna, directly or indirectly. We will understand that. And there is system of varnashram by which person on any level of understanding, person on any level of spiritual spiritual status can rise above and come to the level of Krishna consciousness. So then we will also study Karma Yoga with respect to Jnani, how the sacrifices are performed in knowledge, and then summary of this chapter. So let us start with verse 11. So 11 to 15, Krishna is telling how he is the object of all the approaches. Externally, it may appear that people are approaching different gods, demigods, different type of inclinations people have. But ultimately, actually, they are worshipping Krishna. And this particular verse is very, very important. Krishna is telling, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamyaham mam vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvasha. Very important. Yes, all paths lead to Krishna, directly or indirectly. But how they lead to Krishna, the first two lines are very important. Ye yathamam prapadyate. As one surrenders unto Krishna, as one approaches Krishna, accordingly Krishna reciprocates. Suppose a person wants sense gratification, Krishna will facilitate that sense gratification, and that will delay his going to Krishna. He will go to Krishna, but that path will get delayed. His going to Krishna will get delayed. Somebody wants liberation. Okay, Krishna can give liberation. He gives liberation to even demons. But then when they get liberation, they don't get practical service to the Supreme Lord. So they tend to come back to the material nature. But devotees, they approach Krishna with pure devotion. And therefore, they get a shortcut to Krishna's abode. So like that, all can get access to Krishna's abode. Directly, indirectly, they are worshipping Krishna only. But it all depends how their inclination is pure, how much they are pure in their intentions. If they are pure in their intentions, their journey to Krishna will become very quick. Otherwise, they will take long time. So by hearing about Krishna, by hearing about his pastimes, by hearing about his qualities, many persons in the past became purified and attained love of Krishna. So many. But if someone takes to the shelter of Krishna with some ulterior motive other than transcendental service, then Krishna will reciprocate according to his desire. This verse is applicable to all spheres of people. Like some may just, as we discussed, some may want sense gratification, some may want liberation. Even in devotional service, there may be different platforms. Like some may be in the level of Shantaras. They want to serve Lord in neutrality. Okay, ye thamam prapadyate. Okay, you want like that? Krishna can give that kind of service. Somebody may approach Krishna in dasiras, in servitorship. Then Krishna may reciprocate in the form of servitorship. Somebody may approach Krishna in love of a friend. So Krishna becomes a friend. Somebody may approach Krishna like his son in Vatsaliras. Then Krishna reciprocates accordingly. So different rasas can also be applicable to this verse. So different degrees of realization. the different degrees that how people approach Krishna. In the spiritual world, Krishna reciprocates with each devotee personally as per their uh, sambandha, their relation with him. Similarly, in the material world also, he reciprocates by different types of worshippers as per their approach. For example, Prabhupada used to give a simple example of trains. That if you sit in train of Delhi, you will go to Delhi. If you go in a train of Chennai, you will go to Chennai. So how to understand this particular statement that Mam Vartman Vartante Manushya Partha Sarvasha. Everyone follows my path, leading to me directly or indirectly. How to understand that? You understood Prabhupada's example? Prabhupada gives simple example that if you go to a railway station and if you sit in a train which is going to Delhi, you will go to Delhi. Or okay, understand with the airport. Airport is easier. If you go to airport, if you catch flight of Paris, that flight will take you to Paris. If you take flight of Mauritius, the flight will take you to Mauritius. If you take flight of India, Delhi or Mumbai, it will take you to Mumbai or Delhi. How can Krishna say that all paths lead to me? How to understand this? People may misuse this. People may say that, okay, that means if I worship Lord Shiva, anyway I am worshipping Krishna. Or if I don't worship anybody, then also anyway I'll go to Krishna because he's saying all paths lead to me. How to understand this? Any thoughts? Devotees can raise their hands. Is it not contradictory? Because in 9th chapter, Krishna says, Yanti Devavrata Devan Pitra Yanti Pitravata. So if you worship demigods, you go to demigods. If you worship demons, Pitras, you go to Pitraloka, and things like that. And here Krishna is saying all paths lead to me. How to understand this?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, I'm not sure because he's the source of all the creation of demigods and of all the planets and everything. So everything comes out from him.
See, he is the source of terrorist also. Tomorrow, if I send 1 lakh rupees to a terrorist, will it serve Krishna? How to understand? Amar Nitai Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, if we follow the path and we follow the Varnashram Dharma, so what will happen if we follow the Varnashram Dharma? For example, a Shudra is doing under the direction of Brahman. So everybody works in, if it is, then everybody works under the direction of Brahman, and that will lead to the Krishna, and they will progress in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, that is true, but Varnashram will be perfect when the goal is to please Vishnu. Samsiddhim Haritoshana. Otherwise, Varnashram is not successful. Na? Atha Pumbir Dujasrishta, Varnashrama Vibhagasha. Varnashram is perfect when Samsiddhi Haritoshana. It pleases the Supreme Lord. What if a Brahmana whom a Shudra is following is a Kali worshipper? Then again he's stuck. Yes, Radha Vallabha Mataji.
प्रभु जी, when we are coming directly to Krishna, हमें easily भक्ति मिल जाता है. And if you are pleasing somebody, मतलब demigods, तो हम अपने आप को खुद stuck कर रहे हैं because we are asking them something, and because of that karma will be again in the circle of death and birth. So when we are pleasing Krishna, Krishna knows like what we require, and he will give that only because he gives devotees according to their bhakti. मतलब he, I don't know, but yes, I think that if we please demigods,
it makes sense. Like if we approach demigods in proper consciousness, they may also give us bhakti, but that takes time. If we go up directly to Krishna or his pure devotees, it makes things easier. Okay. Yes, Varat Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah. Since Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that the living entities are my eternal fragmental parts. Therefore, wherever we may be in this material world, how long it may take, but there is no path to this. There is no other path but Krishna. Haribol?
Yes, we are hearing, Prabhuji.
Yeah, there is no other path but Krishna. There's only one. Yeah, it's okay. What I said was that since we are eternal fragmental parts of Krishna, therefore, wherever we may be, today in an animal body or whatever, we'll come to a human form. We can get stuck in this life. Krishna will give us another opportunity. He never rejects us. He will guide us one way or another. Or he will send his representative to guide us. But, you know, it applies at different time for different people.
Yes.
Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, we are hearing you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Prabhuji. We have
Can you
kept
hear
others
me?
on mute. Haribol.
Yeah.
I think you can't hear, Prabhu. We can hear you clearly.
Okay. So you have heard me then.
Yes, yes. Thank you,
Okay,
Prabhu.
thank you.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay.
Rasamrit, Prabhu, last point. Yes. Yes, Mataji.
Yes, making prayers to other demigods and other deities and devis, but the actual vote is Krishna. And not we go to Shri Krishna.
Yeah, ultimately, the demigods are not independent and they can't accept anybody's worship. So they have to anyway offer it to Krishna. Okay, these all points are right. And Anisha Matai also wrote that they will go, but it will take time. We can understand it with a simple analogy that if you are taking a trip to some city, your destination is Krishna. But in the meantime, if you stop your car in the between, in some midway, and you think that I decide to stop here only, then the path is going to Krishna only, but we chose to stop in somewhere in between. That is our problem. Actually, that was never our destination. Somebody, Yanti Devvrata Devan verse doesn't say that they will get stuck in Swarga or they will get stuck in Pitraloka. No. Their ultimate destination is Krishna's lotus feet. We understand that from Brihad Bhagavatamrita. We can't discuss that in this class, but those who have heard that story of Gop Kumar, they have that idea that how Gop Kumar was searching for the ultimate destination. And his search stops when he reaches to the spiritual world in Krishna's lotus feet. So we may go to different destinations, so-called destinations, but actually our ultimate shelter is Krishna's lotus feet. Just like if I want to go to Delhi, I can take flight to Chennai, then from Chennai I can take another flight to Hyderabad, then to Mumbai, then to 20 other places, and then go to Delhi. That way also I can go to Delhi. But that is not a very intelligent way of going there. Intelligent way is to take a direct flight. In the same way, if we have to approach Krishna directly, then Krishna also take us as a surrendered soul. Ye yathamam prapadyate. So both parts of this verse are important. People like the last two lines of this verse very much, and they quote this from Bhagavad Gita, that look, in Bhagavad Gita only Krishna is telling all paths are leading to me. But he is also telling, Ye yathamam prapadyate. If you surrender to him positively, then Krishna will take the charge. If you don't want him in your life, then Krishna will give you that kind of facility. But ultimate destination is Krishna. That we have to understand. So it is our mistake that we are taking the midway or some stops in our journey as our destination. But actually it is never our destination. Therefore, the soul remains dissatisfied until the soul reaches the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. Therefore, Krishna is clearly mentioning this, that his reciprocation will be very much dependent on how individual soul approaches him. And this is again very important because Krishna has given free will to all individuals and he respects that free will. So to devotees, Krishna's reciprocation is very clear. He will take charge of his devotees and he will take them back to his kingdom. With Gyanis, impersonalists, his dealings are different because Gyanis want Krishna to get free from material world. So okay, Krishna will make them free from the material world. He will give them moksha, he will give them liberation. And with others, the people who are interested in sense gratification, Krishna will allot them some sense gratification as per the Vedic injunctions. But if by worshipping Krishna, one is awarded with whatever he wants, why do people still worship others? What is the reason? Krishna is telling in the next verse. Can somebody read verse 4.12? Okay, Amar Nitai Prabhu, would you like to read?
Yes, Prabhu. Many in this world desire success in futile activities, and therefore they worship the demigod. Quickly, of course, men get results from futile work in this world.
So because they want quick results, they don't want to wait for Krishna. Because Krishna may give things after consideration. He will never give things which are harmful for a living entity's spiritual progress. He may give sense gratification, but as I was mentioning, as per the scriptural injunctions. But people don't want to wait for it. They just want quick results. So people with poor fund of knowledge, they worship demigods. They want quick benefits. Just like going to a shopping mall. So for them, spiritual life is like going to a shopping mall. You go to a shopping mall and grab whatever you want. In the same way, they want to go to demigods and they want their demands to be fulfilled. Their discrimination of temporary and eternal is eclipsed by their desire for enjoyment. They can't distinguish what is temporary result, what is eternal result. No. Their intelligence is eclipsed by their desire for sense enjoyment. Therefore, Krishna worship is very rare. It's not that everyone can come to Krishna's shelter. Problem with demigod worship is demigods themselves are temporary. So their benedictions, how they can be eternal? Demigods themselves are temporary. Their benedictions are temporary. Their abode is temporary. So worshipper also gets temporary results. But Krishna is eternal. His dham, his abode is eternal. The relationship between living entity and Krishna is eternal. Therefore, when we worship Krishna, that process of bhakti is eternal. The results are eternal. So people will go to demigods when they think that Krishna doesn't give any material results. So Krishna has given facility for that also. That is described in the next verse. That okay, if somebody doesn't want to follow the pure standard of Krishna consciousness, then Krishna has designed Varnashram. That is a very important aspect. That okay, if you can't practice full pure Krishna consciousness, you want some sense gratification along with your spiritual life, then Krishna designed Varnashram. Yes, Saurabh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanapam. Prabhuji, all the demigods, is that the position or the demigods position is temporary for all the demigods, like Lord Shiva also? And,
Lord Shiva is not a living entity. That is not a post. But all other demigods, that is posts.
including Ganesh ji and everything, Parvati ji, everything is Mata Kali and all. We will not feel.
Because you see, one time Lord Shiva was asked by Parvati that why do you wear this garland of skulls? So Lord Shiva told her that every time you take birth as Parvati and you have to die. So your body, I take skull of that body and put in this garland. So that means what? She's not eternal. So these all are living entities, but only Lord Shiva, he is not living entity. He is above living entities and below the Supreme Lord. He is in between.
Okay.
Okay. So Krishna comes to this level of Varnashram, that okay, somebody who is not able to follow pure Krishna consciousness, then Krishna has facilitated Varnashram, so that that person doesn't need to go to demigods. He still can approach Krishna with all his inclinations, with all his conditionings, with whatever mode he is in. Purpose is to elevate him from the status of animal to the status systematically to the level of Krishna consciousness. So Krishna tells, Chatur Varnam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha Tasya Kartaram Apimam Vidhi Akatam Apayam. Very important. Chatur Varnam, the divisions of Varnashram system is Maya Srishtam, created by me. And how I do divide society in this Varnashram? Guna Karma Vibhagasha, with two factors, Guna and Karma. Guna means influence of the three modes. Every person has certain gunas. Every person has certain inclinations. And Karma, the quality of work they do. So accordingly, they are divided into the four divisions. Yes, so Devi Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. You know, one time when Guru Maharaj came here to Mauritius, in one class, he was telling that whatever we need in our life, that we shouldn't approach demigods. He said, we can ask Krishna for everything. He can provide everything to us. Like all
Yes.
facilities.
Yes. Yeah, that's what the purpose of this verse. This verse, why Krishna is telling that don't go to demigods. Even if you are in mode of ignorance, why don't you come to me? If you are in mode of goodness, come to me. If you are in mode of passion, come to me. Chaturvarna Maya system. I have accepted all kinds, all four divisions in my service. So therefore, Krishna opens this door to everyone. Yes, Saurabh Prabhu?
Prabhuji just wanted to know this Varnashram. If a person is not following Krishna consciousness, or even if person is following Krishna consciousness in a partial way, by the force of three gunas, he has to act like this only. For example, a person who, like for all of us who are most of us are in jobs, so they are basically acting in acting in a shudra way, because we have to
Yes.
serve our bosses, managers,
Yeah, without
but
any
unless
doubt.
until we are not doing with Krishna, with Krishna consciousness. So we are already, even if we don't like it, we are being forced in that situation. Is that correct?
Yes. Prabhupada used to tell people that tell me one place where there is no division. Go to any multinational company. There is no division? There are certain people who are controlling, certain people managing, some people on the ground, some the clerk class. There's some, guards are there, Kshatriya class. Tell one place where there is no division. This Varnashram can be found in each sector of human society, in every country, every place. So by nature, we are doing that. But Varnashram is not just acting as per one guna and karma. As I was telling before, Bhagavatam clearly tells the purpose of Varnashram is samsiddhir haritoshanam. Until that objective is clear, that we have to serve the Supreme Lord, then we are not falling into Varnashram actually. Then it's just, karma. But Varnashram becomes active when the goal is clear. The goal is to please the Supreme Lord. Okay, I am in mode of ignorance, but still I can worship the Supreme Lord as a Shudra. Okay, I am in mode of passion. Still, I can serve the Supreme Lord as Kshatriya. So that is the purpose of Varnashram. Now somebody may ask, and this is a common misunderstanding, that Varnashram is caste system. India is actually infamous for this caste system. That Indian Vedic culture was dependent on caste system, and the higher class of people were exploiting the lower class people. How to defeat their argument? Devotees can raise their hands. How to defeat their argument that no, Varnashram is not caste system? How to defeat that? Any thoughts? Yes, Saurabh Prabhu. Other devotees can also raise hands. This hot topic, people may challenge you. That your scriptures tell caste system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hare
Saurabh
Krishna.
Prabhu.
So, Prabhuji, I think there are two points that I remember. One is that in Varna Ashram, the Brahmans, the person who's born in Brahman family doesn't become a Brahman. He may be Shudra also, depending upon his qualities and
Any examples? Any examples?
Any
Because
examples
as per the common understanding, a person who is a Sharma will write his surname as Sharma. He will say,
for
I am a
example,
Brahmana.
yeah. For example, Prahlad Maharaj. Means like
Yes.
Prahlad Maharaj was born out of his father. Actual material father was Hiranyakashipu, who was a Rakshas, but he was the embodiment of love for Krishna, right? So
Yeah, Prahlad
to
Maharaj,
that,
yes, is a good example, but of course he is still counted in Asuras, but he is a pure devotee, is above Varnashram. But
yes,
any
yes.
example from Varnashram system?
Varnashram system, for example, if I can say, even Bali Maharaj, I can say, he was also born
Again,
in.
Bali Maharaj, he Atmanivedanam, pure devotee, he goes out of the race.
Okay, Prabhu.
One example,
in the current
yeah,
times, you are saying.
in olden times. One example is sons of Lord Rishabdev. This is very famous, and this nobody can deny because Lord Rishabdev is quite famous. Rishabdev had 100 sons, and 9 of them became Navyogendras. And then rest of 81 of them became Vaishyas, and other 10 sons became Kshatriyas. So this is the division that Lord Rishabdev's sons they became on different varnas. Ashramas, of course, we know that brahmachari goes to grihastha and then vanaprastha and sannyas. But varna change was very common in varnashram system. We can take example of Ravan. Ravan was son of a brahmana, but nobody can tell him a brahmana. He was a rakshasa. So this happens. Even to quote that, all sons of Kashyap and Diti were Danavas. So although Kashyap was a Brahmana, but his sons were Danavas. So there was so many, and Danavas means mode of ignorance. So they were out of Varnashram altogether. So like that, there are so many examples in our history that Varnashram was not just because of the parent. Varnashram system was according to Guna Karma, and this verse itself is a proof. Where Krishna is not telling that I have divided this on the surname. Krishna is telling I divided it on basis of Guna and Karma. Yes, Namrasita Mataji. Namrasita Mataji, you have some point?
Krishna Prabhu, this is
Yeah.
last line. What? Krishna Prabhu, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, Prabhu, the last line which you just said, firstly, we have to explain to the people that what does actually Varnashram means. It is not on the basis of the caste. Like if the Sharma is there, is in the Brahman category, or if Gupta is there, he's in Vaishya category. It is on the basis of the qualities one has and on the basis of the karmas he do. So first we need to explain that, because people does not even know the meaning of Varnashram firstly. And then we can give some examples, like suppose if there is a family of engineers, but there may be some child, he does not want to get into engineering and he wants to get into some music. So it can be possible that, or maybe he wants to do some other job, or maybe he wants to do some business. So this is how, this is just, very raw way of, simple way
Yeah,
of explaining.
Prabhupada would give this example that a doctor's son is likely to become a doctor because he gets that type of guidance from childhood. He may have all the books of studying medicine at house. He may have that kind of counseling. But that doesn't mean he'll become doctor just by taking birth in a doctor family. He has to still study and pass the exam. In the same way, a Brahmana's son is likely to become a Brahmana because he get that kind of culture from childhood. But that doesn't mean that just by being a son of Brahmana, he'll become a Brahmana. Another prominent example which people can easily accept is of Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra was a Kshatriya, and by his tapasya and by taking, ultimately by taking, actually he's by becoming submissive to Vashishta, finally he became a Brahmana. So that example is also there. Okay, so let's go further. Yeah. So now somebody may ask that, okay, Krishna, so that means you also have to follow Varnashram because you yourself made Varnashram. So do you belong to a Kshatriya family or do you belong to a Vaishya family? What exactly you are? Because we heard that you are very expert in tending cows and you are very much into the Vaishya profession, and now you came to the Kshatriya profession. So what exactly you are? Then Krishna clarifies in the last two lines of this verse. Krishna tells that, look, I am the creator of this system, but I am not bound to this system. I am the lawmaker, but I am not bound to this law. I am non-doer. Krishna further explains this in the 14th verse. This is also a very famous verse where Krishna tells that the contamination of fruitive reactions does not affect Krishna. We cannot fit our rules on Krishna. Like a jailer of the jail, if he makes any rules for the jail, that doesn't mean when he enters the jail, he also follow the rules. Another example, I think, some proper disciple was giving. He was telling that when you drive car on the road, you have to follow the rules of the traffic rules. But if you fly in a plane, then you can't tell that, oh, there is a red light, there is a signal, red light on the street, so plane has to stop. No, plane will not stop. That rules of traffic are for the road, not for the plane. So like that, Krishna is telling, Namam karmani lippanti, name karma phalaspriha, iti mam yo bijanati karmabhir nasa padyate. There is no contamination of work for me. I do not get, lipyanti means contaminated. I don't get contaminated by karma because I don't have karma phala spriha. Spriha means desire. Spriha means actually intense desire. So I do not aspire for fruits of my work. I don't want to have any enjoyment in this material world. So if somebody just understands this, and if he becomes my devotee, he will also become free of the contamination of work. What to speak about me? My devotees also become free of desire of this karma phala. So how this karma can affect me? My devotees, just by remembering me, become free of it. So forget about karma binding me. That's how Krishna is telling. Usha Mataji, can you read translation of 15th verse?
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhu. All the liberated souls in ancient times acted with this understanding of my transcendental nature. Therefore, you should perform your duty following in their footsteps.
So Krishna is concluding this by telling that how karma will affect me just by understanding my nature. just by understanding my divine nature, the souls become liberated of material contamination. So you should just perform your duty. You understand my nature. I am telling you to do something. If you perform your duty following their footsteps, whose footsteps? Those liberated souls, then you will also get liberated. Prabhupada in the purport is giving difference between polluted hearts and liberated hearts. What is the difference between polluted heart and a liberated heart? Because only souls who are free materially, those who are pure in heart, can go to Krishna. Chetan Prabhu, would you like to read the difference?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So,
Yes.
polluted hearts should take to Krishna consciousness for gradual cleansing. And those who are materially free continue to act in Krishna consciousness so that others may follow their exemplary activities.
Yes.
Then, secondly, for polluted hearts, often want to retire from activities without having a knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Example, Arjuna's desire wasn't approved. And on the contrary, materially free people, they're already liberated, but still work in Krishna consciousness. Example, Vivasvan, Arjuna is advised to follow his example. And another example of polluted hearts, sitting aloof, making a show of Krishna consciousness is less important. And on the other hand, materially free, more important is to actually engage in the field of activities for the sake of Krishna.
So, Prabhupada is summarizing this whole verse by comparison between these two categories of people. Those who are polluted means those who have material aspirations. They think that Krishna consciousness means we have to retire from all activities. And often they have that kind of understanding. So even if they have that kind of understanding, if they come to the level of Krishna consciousness will make them understand that their duties are important. So that will also help them in material nature as well as in the spiritual nature. Now coming to the liberated souls, they have a clear understanding that we work in this world, but we don't work for ourselves, we work for Krishna. So for them also Krishna consciousness is beneficial because just by remembering Krishna, the karma is not binding them. So if somebody has to enjoy material world also, then also Krishna consciousness is needed. And if somebody wants to go back to Krishna, then also Krishna consciousness is needed. Bhagavatam tells simple understanding of this. He tells that karma, the fruitive activities with bhakti will give results. Karma without bhakti, even karma will not give results. Karma will only give bondage. Same is with Gyan. Gyan with bhakti will give positive results. Gyan without bhakti will only bind us further in the material world because we feel that material world is so nice. Person who is in knowledge, he feels that his material world is so nice. This is another kind of bondage. Sattva guna is another kind of bondage. Therefore, action in Krishna consciousness has to be executed. We have to act in Krishna consciousness. We have to follow the instructions of the Supreme Lord and his representatives. That's what Krishna is inspiring Arjuna. Now, Krishna is further describing the intricacies of karma. That how person in knowledge understand the intricacies of karma. Can somebody read 16? Okay. Vansi Vilasini Mataji, would you like to read? Translation of 16th verse.
Yes, Prabhuji. Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune.
Yeah. So these intricacies of karma are very difficult to understand. Very difficult. Because how exactly they work, how exactly they bind, it's very difficult. But Krishna is explaining Arjuna the intricacies of karma so that he understands that his fighting in war will not incur sins on him. Whereas Duryodhan's fighting in war will incur sins on him. Now, externally, somebody sees, he say, okay, both are doing the same karma, so same results. No. Krishna will now teach what exactly is karma, akarma, and vikarma. These are three kinds of action. First is karma. Karma means prescribed action. When we work according to the scriptures. Akarma means inaction. Now, this inaction is of two types. One, inaction means not doing one's activity or not doing one's occupational duty, which is condemned by Krishna in previous chapters. Another kind of inaction is where person acts externally, but internally he is detached. This also we studied, detached worker. His work is also called inaction because actually that karma is not binding him. So it's also called akarma. So akarma is of two types. One is external renunciation of work, which is condemned. And second is externally person does his duties, but internally he is not attached. So that is Krishna consciousness. That akarma is devotional service. And third is vikarma. Vikarma means nishiddha karma. This is forbidden action. Scriptures call it as sinful activities. So these three types of karma one has to understand. Text 18. Sachidananda Prabhu, would you like to read? Please unmute.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Text 18. One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities.
Now this is important to understand. Action in inaction and inaction in action means what? First, let us understand action in inaction, the second part. What is action in inaction? This inaction is a karma, which is condemned. The external renunciation, which we studied in previous chapter as mithyachar, where person externally thinks himself to be very much renunciate. He gives up his duty, but internally his mind is hovering over the sense gratification. So such inaction will produce results of action. How? Because he is running away from his duty, he will get sinful activity. And also in his mind, because he is running after sense gratification, whenever there will be a chance of sense gratification, he will fall down. So such inaction is actually the cause of bondage in the near future. Intelligent person understands this. Now let us understand inaction in action. Inaction in action. If person does his action, duties, as per the scriptures, as per Krishna's instructions or his representatives' instructions, and he is not attached to the results, that is actually inaction. Because although externally he may be doing work in the material world, but his activities will not bind him. So actually it is inaction. So one who understands these two factors, action and inaction in action, he is intelligent. Now who can repeat this for everybody? Who can repeat this? Action in action and inaction in action. Two devotees will need. Those who can repeat this. Yes, Amar Nitai Prabhu. Which one you will explain?
So
You can
whatever you said,
unmute. Okay, you can
whatever
explain inaction in action.
which is there is maybe we can see a person who is working,
Sir,
is going to office, he is doing all the activities, but actually he is renounced from the result of it. So actually from inside he is inacting, externally he is acting, so he will not get the results of those actions.
yeah. Externally he is active, but internally he is inactive. Internally, he is not attached to his work. He is not attached to the results of his work, to be more specific. Therefore, his activity is inaction. Actually, he is not bound. He is doing akarma, real akarma. Yes, Shalya Pyari. Which one? Okay, now second one. Action in inaction.
Action in inaction, like one who is not doing his duty properly and showing the renunciation from outside, but internally he is very much attached to the activities going materially. That is we call is action in inaction, and he will get results of all the inactions he is doing in this in his life.
Yeah, we discussed before, like some security guard. He sits in his chair, inaction. Will you give him salary? No, he's getting salary for standing there and guarding the house. That kind of inaction will cause another action. That is irresponsibility. That is not detachment. We already discussed this in last chapter, difference between irresponsibility and detachment. So Krishna will further explain these 2 points in the following verses. Yes, Saurabh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, I just wanted to know, so if a person who is not doing anything physically, but he's thinking from the mind, right, and he's thinking of sense gratification, so then he's not attached to, he's not doing any work, but he's doing some mental work around it. So that is action in inaction, what I understand.
Problem with
And
that is what Krishna tells in second chapter, Dhyayato Vishaya Punsa Sangastesho Pajayate Sanga Sanjayate Kama Kama Krodho Vijayate. You remember that whole chain of fall down?
yes, sir.
It
Yes, sir.
starts with contemplation only. So although externally he may not be doing any sinful activity now, but since his mind is on material platform, Dhavato Bahi, that will come externally. That will ride on the chariot of his mind to the sense gratification again. So therefore it is risky.
So Prabhuji, I have 2 questions in it. One is that what I understand, what I have heard is that in Kali Yuga, there's all the mental things you think on the platform. Suppose you are thinking of bad of something, so it doesn't count as a work. So one is this I have heard. I don't know whether it is, how is it. And second is, suppose you are not thinking of it. It's just like some thought came in mind or some bad thought came in your mind, and you are not thinking around it. Just it is going on, because many times what happens in the mind, thoughts comes.
Okay,
You do not
let's
have
discuss.
control over it.
Let's discuss one by one. The first one, which you told, that there is no sin for thinking in Kali Yuga, which is right. But there are 2 problems in it. One is person who is irresponsible, leaving his duties, he is sitting and contemplating. That false renunciation itself will bring sinful activity. That he is not doing his duty. Suppose a father who is supposed to maintain his family leaves everything and just sitting in one corner and he's thinking about sense gratification. Okay, that thinking of sense gratification in mind will not give any sin in Kali Yuga. But leaving his responsibility of maintaining the family will give him sinful activity. Because that concession is only given to a pure devotee who is completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord. Then he is free of all the debts to family, to forefathers, to rishis, to bhutat, to nrinam, everybody. But that concession is not given to such false renunciate. So even though sitting idly, leaving his duties will give him sinful activity for the first case. And second thing, as we discussed, okay, that contemplation will not give him sinful activity. But while contemplating, he will surely act on it. As Bhagavad Gita is saying, it will force him to act. So then he will again fall in the trap. Now, second point which you told about, sometimes the thoughts come automatically. We are not thinking, but bad thoughts are coming. What to do? Here is the difference between a pure soul and an impure soul. What pure soul will do? Like Yamunacharya's verse, which Prabhupada writes in a purport in Bhagavad Gita, that whenever these thoughts of sense gratification come in my mind, I spit at it. I just curb my lips and I spit at it and I chastise myself. That is pure soul. But what impure soul will do? As bad thoughts will come, he will relish it. He will chew it, chewing the chew it. Punha punha charvita charvanam. This is the problem. So yes, bad thought comes, but then a pure soul will fight against it. Impure soul will contemplate on it more and more. This is the difference. Okay.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
So here Krishna is clearly mentioning about the three kinds of karma. Very important. Please take a note. Karma, vikarma, and akarma. Now the explanation is given differently. Like karma and vikarma, definition is always same. Karma means according to scriptures, when person does his duties, it is karma. Vikarma is forbidden activities, which are sinful activities. That is vikarma. Akarma may be described according to context, as we discussed. One type of inaction is irresponsibility, that is akarma. That kind of inaction will lead to sin. But one type of akarma is when person is doing activity externally, but he is not attached to it. That is also akarma. That is pure devotional service. That of course will not lead to any bondage. So we have to understand this both type of action and inaction and inaction and action. I hope you understood it. And if you want to understand it better, I will request you to write three lines on it. You explain it in your own words. What is action and inaction and inaction and action? And you can put it on group in our WhatsApp group. So we can help each other in understanding this. Because in every activity, we can see this, that are we just doing a farce, a show of detachment, or actually we are detached? We have to check ourselves. Otherwise, we are just falling into the trap of Maya, where we are actually becoming irresponsible on the name of being detached. So Krishna is making this very, very clear. Now further, Krishna is explaining inaction in action. Sachi Maharani Mataji, would you like to read the translation for 19th verse? We can't hear you.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. One is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge.
So who is doing actually inaction in action? This means a detached worker who is not attached to his results. He is in full knowledge that he is not doing this activity for sense gratification. Actually, he is just doing it for following the injunctions of the scriptures. That person is in full knowledge. And in our devotee context, we call it in Krishna consciousness. He is in consciousness of Krishna. Although he may be doing worldly activities externally, but that is actually Krishna consciousness. Only a person in full knowledge can understand this. Otherwise, externally, it looks very similar. Devadev Prabhu, text 20, please read. Please unmute.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Abandoning all attachment to the results of his activity, ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruitive actions, also engaged in all kinds of undertakings.
Very important verse. Just in 3 phrases, Krishna summarizes it all. He says, abandoning all attachment of the results. First point. He abandons the attachment to the results. Second point, ever satisfied and independent. He's satisfied in the service. He's satisfied in his responsibility. He's satisfied in his whatever condition Krishna has kept him. And third is, he performs all kinds of undertakings. He does his responsibility nicely. So not attached, satisfied, and does his duties. This person is called detached worker. He is not attached to the results. He is satisfied and he performs all his duties. That person is actually not bound in karmic reaction. He is not doing any fruitive action. And that particular stage is of perfect detached worker, karma yogi. Now Krishna is describing that stage of perfection. Nirashir yata chittatma tyaktva sarva parigraha shariram kevalam karma kurvan napnoti kilvisham. There are 5 important aspects. Actually, there are more. Krishna is describing one by one. These are some of the symptoms of such karma yogi. What are the symptoms of such a karma yogi? First is, he is free from personal desires. Anya Vilashita Shunyam. We will read this in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Anya Vilashita. Anya Vilashita means any other desire than serving Krishna. He is free from all kind of desires, all kinds of material desires. Nirashir. Nir means negative. Asha means all desires. So he is devoid of all asha. He is devoid of all desires. Yat chittatma, self-controlled. He controls his senses and mind. He controls his consciousness. He projects his consciousness through mind on Krishna, not on sense gratification. Third is tyaktva sarva parigraha. Tyakta means to give up. Sarva means all. Parigraha means to hold. Holding means proprietorship, sense of proprietorship. So he's free from all sense of proprietorship. Everything is of Krishna. It's not mine. Idam Krishnaya, idam namama. That is the sense of yajna, that is the sense of sacrifice. That everything belongs to Krishna. I belong to Krishna, so how can I hold something? I myself belong to Krishna. So whatever I have is also belonging to Krishna. Then, how he lives his life? Shariram kevalam karma. Just to maintain his sharir, just to maintain his body, the bare necessities of life. Shariram kevalam. Just to maintain his bodily necessities, he acts. He will eat just to keep body and soul together. And why he does so? Because Krishna has given him some responsibilities to execute. And in order to execute that responsibilities, this body is a medium. So he takes care of his body with bare necessities of life. And such a person, kurvan napnoti kilvisham. Kilvisham means complexities of life, which is sinful activities. So napnoti means he does not get any sinful reactions of such work. So because he is free from desires, he is self-controlled. Because if you have desire, you can't control senses. Because no personal desire, self-controlled. And because he sense control, he can realize that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. I also belong to him. So no proprietorship. Such a person's live simple life. Simple life. And when he lives simple life, no sinful activities. So these are some basic symptoms of a karma yogi. More symptoms Krishna is telling. How a karma yogi can be recognized. And it's very important that these symptoms are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Because we always tend to see the externals of a person. As devotees, we are supposed to see the internal qualities. The problem with internal qualities are we can't see them externally. But at least we can look ourselves. At least we can test ourselves. That are we fitting in these examples and qualities? This test we can do at least. Krishna is telling more qualities. Yad richa labha santushto. He is satisfied with whatever comes on its own accord. Now that doesn't mean he is lazy. He will work. He will do his duty nicely. But whatever results Krishna will send, he will be satisfied. And because he will be satisfied, therefore, dvanda tito means, dvanda means duality. Atito means going above dualities. Like Gunatito means Krishna is called Gunatit. Gunatit means he's above the three modes. So here it is called Dvandatit. Dvandatit means above the dualities of material nature. So because he's satisfied in whatever comes of his own accord, he will not be disturbed by dualities. Okay, today I'm very happy. Today I'm not feeling so happy. Today I'm affected by so much heat. No, today is too much cold. So these dualities of material nature are sign of dissatisfaction of heart. When somebody is happy, it doesn't matter to him. Like we can understand this, like suppose it's your birthday party and your birthday party is being celebrated. So many of your friends have come. They've arranged a nice surprise party. Will you feel hunger and thirst that time? That time you're so absorbed in that birthday celebration that you will not feel any thirst and hunger. In the same way, a devotee of Lord is so absorbed in serving Krishna that he is above the dualities of material nature. Vimatsara. Matsar means envy. Vimatsara means without envy. He is free from envy. Then he is steady in both success and failure. Similar to tolerant of duality is a similar note. He is steady in both success and failure. Kritvapi na nibhadyate, never entangled. He doesn't entangle himself in the results of the actions. Gata sangasya muktasya, unattached to modes of material nature. Fully situated in transcendental knowledge. And that doesn't mean he just sit idly, no. Yagya chiratah karma, acts for the sake of Krishna. He does his yagya. Yagya means action of sacrifice. So he does his acts of sacrifice for the pleasure of Krishna. And therefore he is samagramam praviliyate. He does not get sinful reactions. So Krishna very clearly tells the activities of a karma yogi. If one should perform actions for the purpose of yagya, the natural question will come, what are the types of yagya? Because Krishna is telling here so many things, that he is not attached to material nature, he is tolerant to dualities, all negative qualities. Negative means the passive qualities. But the active quality, Krishna has told only one, that he acts for the sake of yagya. Now the natural question is, what type of yagyas? Krishna describes in next verse about yagya. That what type of yagya one should perform. Anupama Mataji, would you like to read? Please read translation of 24th verse.
Yes, Prabhupada. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute and that what is offered is of the same spiritual nature.
So Prabhupada's translation makes so simple, things become so simple to understand. Prabhupada's translation is the beauty of Prabhupada's translation. What Prabhupada is writing, a person who is in Krishna consciousness, he is sure to attain a spiritual kingdom. Why? Because whatever activities he is doing, actually he is doing for spiritual nature only. So here also he is doing spiritual activity, and there also he will go to spiritual nature, so he will continue spiritual activity. That type of yagya is spiritual yagya, where activity is spiritual goal is spiritual. Both are spiritual. Activity is spiritual in terms that he is not attached to sense gratification. Goal is spiritual because goal is not fruitive reactions. Goal is Krishna's shelter. So both are spiritual. So that person is bound to go to spiritual world. Okay. Are there any other kind of yajna than this? Are there some other kind of yajna? Yes. This is the best type of yajna where the person has a spiritual goal and a spiritual activity. But there are other kind of yajna also. Krishna is telling some other yajnas from the verse 25 to 29. One kind of yajna is demigod worship. Karma yogis or karma kandis do this. There, now we have to understand here yajna or sacrifice does not mean just the fire sacrifice. No. Here it means action. The action is also a sacrifice. But when Jnani looks, when a person in knowledge looks towards these people, how we understand them? The demigod worshippers are actually worshipping demigods just for their sense gratification. Therefore, they are karmis. Okay, then next level, Brahman worshippers. Brahman means impersonal feature of the Lord. When karmis try to enjoy the material world, they understand that more than enjoyment, they are getting misery. More than enjoyment, actually, they are suffering. So they develop a desire to get liberated from this material world altogether. So then what they do? They worship Brahman. They worship the impersonal aspect of the Supreme Lord. That is called Jnanis. Then there is another kind of yajna in Varnashram. Krishna is telling Brahmacharis. Brahmacharis is student life. When they go to Gurukul, they are first told to control their mind and senses. So when they control mind and senses, this is another kind of yajna, which is on the platform of mind. Then Grihasthas, they have another kind of yajna. What kind of yajna Grihasthas do? Sense objects, sense gratification. Actually, not always sense gratification, but that means they have to deal with sense enjoyment. They have to deal with sense enjoyment. Whereas brahmacharis have to deal with controlling of mind and senses. Yes, Namrasita Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, I cannot understand the demigod worship, part A. Karma yogis worship the demigods by different sacrifices. Karma yogis are the people who follow Krishna conscious, isn't it?
Actually, that should be karmis. Actually, we tell that is karmis. Not exactly karma yogis, because karma yogi will be connecting it to Krishna. Therefore, when I was reading, I was just telling karmi. I was not reading as karma yogi. Yes, Amar Nitai Prabhu.
This is what Karma Kandi Pandits follow. This is
Yeah,
demigod
so
worship.
there is difference between karma kanda and karma yoga. So therefore, I told karmi. That is karma kandi. Actually, karma yogi means he will do sacrifice even to demigods to please the Supreme Lord. Even if he externally does, like gopis worshipped Katyayani. What was their object of worship? Externally, it is Katyayani, a demigod. But their goal was Krishna. So that becomes karma yoga. Like Rukmini, when she goes before her marriage to Girija temple and she worships goddess Durga. So externally worshipping demigoddess. But goal is Krishna. So that becomes karma yogi. But if the goal is sense gratification, that becomes karma kanda. So that is the difference. Okay. Then there is another kind of yajna which Krishna is telling in the verse 27. He is telling about yogis. These yogis, they control their pranavayus. There are 5 kind of pranavayus, and they control their life air. And that kind of self-control is also a kind of yajna of yogis. Then there are many Vaishyas and Kshatriyas who tend to do charity. So that type of yajna is called Dravya Yajna. Bali Maharaj was doing that yajna. Bali Maharaj's yajna was Dravya Yajna. And what kind of Dravya Yajna? That whatever somebody will ask, he will give. Therefore, Vamandev came and asked for 3 steps of land. If he would be doing simple fire sacrifice, then there was no need for Vamandev to go and ask. Because he was doing Dravya Yajna, therefore Vamandev went and asked for charity. Then there are another kind of mysticism. Yogis who become perfect, they get 8 kind of siddhis. We discussed them. Anima, Laghima. This kind of siddhis, Prapti, Vashita. You can become lighter than a feather, heavier than a mountain, can become small like an ant. Somebody can control others. This kind of yogic perfections a yogi can get. And when they practice these yogic perfection, that is also a kind of sacrifice. Then Swadhyaya is a sacrifice. Swadhyaya means self-study. Study of the scriptures is also a sacrifice. Therefore, when Brahmanas, they study scriptures, that itself is a sacrifice. It's a duty of Brahmana. Patan, Patan, Yajan, Yajan, Dana, Pratigraha. 6 main duties of a Brahmana. One of them is to study. So study itself is a yajna for them. Then pranayam, controlling the breathing process, is also a yajna. But now the common question will come, okay, there are so many types of yajnas. We accept that. What is the purpose of having so many sacrifices? Why Krishna has given so much variety? One answer is, of course, to include all people, because ultimately everybody is Krishna's son. Sarva yonishu konteya. Everybody is Krishna's children. So how can Krishna give up on some particular living entity? So he wants to give chance to everybody. So he has given so many paths. Okay, you can take to any of the yajna. But what is the purpose? Purpose, Prabhupada has written in the purport. All the sacrifices, the purpose is that one has to become clean in his heart of sinful reactions. When one becomes free from sinful reactions, one will become happy and satisfied in his life. When one becomes clean in heart, free from sinful reactions, satisfied, then one becomes qualified to come to the level of Krishna consciousness. And when one comes to the level of spiritual nature, there are two possibilities. If he'll become worshippers of the impersonal Brahman, then he'll go to Brahmajyoti. And if he'll become worshippers of the personal feature, then he will go to the spiritual planets. So ultimately, all the scriptures, the common goal is to cleanse the heart. And that is the only purpose of all these sacrifices. So then Arjuna becomes confused that, oh, you have told so many sacrifices and you are telling that purpose is to cleanse the heart. Which one is for me? How do I decide? Or, okay, forget about me. You are telling me anyway to fight. But what about others? How they will decide? You are not going to guide them every time. How others will decide which one to follow? Then Krishna gives this golden verse. How to decide your own path, how to decide your spiritual nature by going to a self-realized spiritual master. This is a very famous verse. I'm sure you all must be knowing this verse. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattu darshina. That how one gets to the level of spiritual reality, how one understands the spiritual reality by approaching a self-realized spiritual master. Keshava Priya Mataji, would you like to read the translation?
Hare Krishna. Just to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth.
Very important verse which describes the importance of approaching a spiritual master. Not only the importance is that self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto us. He can give us that Divya Gyan. He can tell us about our nature, about the process we need to follow, how to come to the spiritual reality. That all knowledge he can give. But how to approach a spiritual master is also described in this verse. First one is pranipat. Pranipat means submitting oneself. Actually, literal meaning of pranipat means to fall like a rod, dandavat. That is pranipat. But the internal meaning of it is to submit oneself. And second one is pariprashna. Pariprashna. It's not simple prashna. It's pariprashna. Pariprashna means spiritual inquiries. Why I am suffering? Who am I? How can I stop my suffering? That type of questions are spiritual inquiries. Sometimes people come to Guru and they ask, how are you? That type of question is not spiritual inquiry. Guru is okay only. We should ask that, how are we? We need to ask that to Guru. That how to rectify our situation. Guru is nice. That type of questions we should not ask. We should ask spiritual inquiries, pariprashna. And when these inquiries are fruitful, sevaya, by service. Because no siksha works without bhiksha. Without Guru Dakshina, no knowledge will work. What is Guru Dakshina? Service. Without service, no spiritual knowledge will help us in our spiritual life. So right mood is in submission, humble inquiry, humble service. Wrong method is either blind following, that is a wrong method. No questions, just follow. So many institutions are running like that. They never ask for their subordinates to ask questions. Only in ISKCON we have this facility that after every class we tell that any questions. This is in ISKCON only, not outside. Very few. Neither blind following is appreciated nor absurd inquiries. Yes, absurd inquiries, both are condemned. So what we will do, we will spend 5 minutes in reading the purport of this verse. Very important purport. I am not dividing you in the rooms. We'll read individually for 5 minutes. And then I will request you to share the best point you liked, only one point each devotee from the purport. So as you finish, you can just raise your hand. Some devotees read very fast. So as soon as they finish reading, they can start raising their hands.
Therefore, when the student is submissive and is always ready to render service, the expression of knowledge and inquiries become perfect.
Yes. So he is not our enemy. Sometimes spiritual master may be very strict, but that strictness is also its kindness. Because if he will not be strict, then we will not take spiritual life seriously. So he is very kind. He wants us to grow in our spiritual life. So taking help of such a spiritual master is beneficial for the disciple. Yes, Anupama Mataji.
Prabhuji, I like 2 points. The Lord is the
Just one.
original spiritual
Please
master.
share only one.
Okay. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in the disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. And we should hear from him submissively and to clear. One must also get a clear understanding from him in submission and service and inquiries.
Main spiritual master is Supreme Lord, Vande Krishna Jagadguru. And when we take shelter of his representative, he acts as spiritual master on his behalf. So we have to have that understanding very clear. Yes, Braj Sevika Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So for me, what I like very much is through mental speculation, dry arguments, and independent study of books, we cannot make progress in our spiritual life. So we need a bona fide spiritual master to guide us for us to completely understand this knowledge.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mataji. Nice point. Radha Valla Mataji.
Roji, I like this one point that here it is saying that when we are inquisitive and we really want to know the spiritual knowledge, and when Guru sees this, he really blesses us, and we have a prayer in Guru Puja that Divya Gyan Hriday Prakasita. So I think that this really connects here.
Yes. So by our endeavor, we can't get Krishna. But when by our endeavor we please spiritual master, he gives us Krishna. That is the way. So by our endeavor, we attract his mercy. And by his mercy, we get Krishna consciousness. Thank you. Yes, Yashodanandan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. Prabhu, for me, one of the main things that I've seen is very important is without the guidance of the spiritual master, if we try to approach, we won't get the knowledge, because he knows how to guide us in our spiritual life.
Yes. So we have to pass the test. Unless there is submission and service to the spiritual master, how we will get the spiritual knowledge automatically? That is not possible. Okay, so I'll not take any more. We're running short of time. So other devotees will take from us some other question. But one very important point is also, Prabhupada writes that both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. There's also very important section of the purport where Prabhupada telling that we should not be blind follower. We can ask questions, but those questions should be genuinely asked for spiritual upliftment. They should not be absurd inquiries. Can you give some example of absurd inquiries which we can make to the spiritual authorities? Any absurd inquiries?
Prabhu, generally people ask like about the marriage of Radha and Krishna, and
okay, yeah, that can be. Yes, Amarnitai Prabhu.
Sometimes we ask spiritual master of our material problems, or we inquire that we have such problems, so how to get out of it. Some
Like
people goes
one
and says
favorite
that which car number.
one favorite question which I used to hear while traveling with Guru Maharaj is, parents come and they ask, can you suggest some good match for our child? Now, spiritual master is not a matchmaker, but asking this type of question, he may help out of his affection for disciple, he may help also. But that is not his job. He's not a matchmaker. That can be done with anybody else. Or, sometimes people ask that, as Amarnitai Prabhu was telling, about business, about these materialistic things. Absurd inquiries. Yes, Saurabh Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. So an absurd question could be that why God is not coming here? How can I, why God do not comes in front of me? Or
Yeah,
something
like so many people used to challenge Srila Prabhupada like that. Can you show me God? What was Prabhupada's reaction? God is not a father's servant.
Don't. Yeah.
Prabhupada's simple answer. God is not your father's servant. So that is absurd inquiry. Yeah. Varat Krishna Prabhu. You can unmute, Prabhuji.
Yeah, yes. So, as you rightly said that, this question of, have you seen God? I mean, how am I to believe you? That even that if you don't have the faith, that many people, they would say that, okay, like Prabhupada himself said that, okay, have you seen God? If I tell you yes, would you believe me? Then they get stuck. They can't answer to that, because how do you know that, if I tell you what I'm telling you is right? So it is a stupid question or an absurd question.
Yeah. Many times this is, this is okay. This is some level of question also, but now the situation is more worst. We ask the spiritual master, which toothpaste you use, which company bag did you purchase, how much is your phone costing for. This type of question also we ask the spiritual master. They are wasting their time. One time Prabhupada was traveling in a train in India, and one person was insisting on meeting Srila Prabhupada. So the Prabhupada disciples were wanting to stop him, but he somehow managed to get into Prabhupada's cabin in train. And he told Prabhupada, please bless me, bless me, bless me. This is another kind of disturbance. You go to spiritual master, bless me, bless me, bless me. Prabhupada told him, do you know what my blessings will do? Look at these people. And there were a lot of brahmacharis sitting in front of Prabhupada with shaven head. You'll become like them. Do you want my blessings? That person said, no, I don't want blessings. He ran away. So blessings are never ours. We should serve in such a way that blessings are naturally given by the spiritual master. Submission, pranipad, sevaya, service, and pariprashna. There, one time I was in Pune, and Sankarshan Prabhu, Prabhupada's disciple, came, and one devotee asked him a very nice question. He asked him a question that what question we should ask to a spiritual master. This was the question. That what question we should ask to the spiritual master. And Sankarshan Prabhu, he gave very nice answer. He told, you ask him about the challenges you are facing in your spiritual life. That is the best question. What challenges you are facing in your spiritual life? And if you are on Sith level, if you cross that level of sadhan bhakti, then you ask only one question to him, which Srila Prabhupada asked, how can I serve you? Srila Prabhupada asked only this question to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, only one question, how can I serve you? But if you are not at that level, we should ask questions which are helping us to overcome the challenges in our spiritual life. Those questions are the best questions. Like what questions Arjun is asking here? Arjun is submitting his challenges, the confusions he is facing. And therefore Bhagavad Gita is so important. Where questions are perfect, answers are perfect. Then Krishna tells the results of having such knowledge. If we approach a spiritual master and we get perfect knowledge from him, what are the results of such knowledge? What types of person attains this knowledge? Sorry, what are the results and glories of such knowledge? First one is no bewilderment. If you are in knowledge, you will not fall again into the trap of illusion. You have a clear vision. Because when goal is hazy, things go crazy. When somebody no goal, then he will have a hazy vision. But if somebody has a clear goal, where he is supposed to go, what he need to achieve, then no bewilderment. And has a pure vision, where he sees all living beings as parts and parcel of the Supreme Lord. When he sees all objects in the material nature as part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So therefore, he will not try to exploit any living entity. He will not try to exploit any object of the senses, because he sees that everything is for Krishna's service. And when he does not try to exploit the nature, then there is no sinful activity. There is no sins. So he is free of all sins. When there is no sins, then there is no reactions. So he is free from the reactions. And when there is no reactions, then he is pure, pavitram. So he is completely pure. So that is the result of the knowledge. That his goal is clear, he does not bewilder, and because his vision is clear, he sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, he does not do sinful activities. When he does not do sinful activities, there is no reactions. And when there is no reactions, he is pure, even in material world. That is the result of having pure knowledge. Now the question may come, what type of person attain this knowledge? Okay, you told about the Guru, you told about the knowledge, you told about the result of the knowledge. But what type of person attain this knowledge? This is described in the next verse. Who can attain this knowledge? Two qualifications. Shraddhavan labate jnanam tatpara samitendriya. Two main qualifications. One is Shraddha, one who has faith. One who has faith, Shraddhavan labate jnanam. He gets jnana. He attains knowledge. One who has faith. One who doesn't have faith cannot achieve Krishna consciousness. And second is one who controls his senses. Very important. Because uncontrolled senses are like hole in the pot. No matter how much water you put in the pot, if there is a hole, the whole thing will go out. In the same way, uncontrolled senses cannot retain any knowledge. So if somebody is having faith and if he controls his senses, then he will quickly achieve the spiritual knowledge. And with that knowledge, he can attain Krishna consciousness, the ultimate perfection of life. On the contrary, who cannot attain this knowledge? Krishna is telling, Agya asraddhadhanascha. Ashraddhadhanasya. One is agyas. Agya means ignorant. And second is ashraddhadhana. Shraddha, ashraddha. Ashraddha means faithless. And when there is no faith, then what will happen? Samshayatma. Sanshaya means doubt. So one who is ignorant, one who is faithless, one who doubts on the scriptures, one who doubts on the spiritual master, one who doubts on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, vinashyati, he falls down. Nayam lokosti na paro na sukham samshayatman. Neither in this world nor in the next world. He can never be happy because he is always into faithlessness. He cannot put faith on anybody in this life. And next life, when he's this life only, he could not trust Krishna. How will he go in better destination next life? So both worlds are lost for such person. Sanshayatma vinishyati. So the basic bottom line is faith. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam and ashraddhadhanasya samshayatma vinishyati. Without faith, one falls down. Therefore, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, our Krishna consciousness starts with Adau Shraddha. It starts with faith. The more faith we have, more we can. It is more easy for us to accept Krishna consciousness. Okay, there was a little exercise, but we will cover it tomorrow. Let us see the results of having this perfect knowledge of Krishna consciousness and having this knowledge, what results one gets. Krishna is telling in the verse 41. Yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana satchinna samshaya atmavantam na karmani nibandhanti dhananjaya. Okay, who didn't read? Venudhari Prabhu. Sorry, I could not give you a chance. So please read the translation of 41st verse.
One who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of his actions, and whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge, is situated factually in the self. Thus, he is not bound by reaction of work, O conqueror of riches.
So finally, Krishna is concluding this chapter by telling that who will not be bound to the reaction of work? First, who does activity without being attached to the results. Second, who gets knowledge from a bona fide spiritual master and dispels all his doubts. Third, by the virtue of that knowledge, he realizes the self as being servant of Krishna. Then that person will never be bound to the reactions of the world. Therefore, Arjun, you should, with the sword of knowledge, and rise and fight as I am telling you to do. So that's how Krishna concludes this chapter, and Arjun will have a doubt on this, which will start the next chapter. So hopefully tomorrow we will start, Krishna willing, we'll start the chapter 5. Hare Krishna. Namrasita Mataji, you have any question?
Yes, Prabhu, in verse number 4.10, please can you a little bit explain the fear of spiritual identity and the conception of void that arises from the frustration? It has been explained above, but a little bit if you can explain about the impersonalists. They have this fear of spiritual
fear of
spiritual identity, personal identity, spiritual.
Yeah, see
identity.
this impersonalists, they have conception of the material world, and they see in material world everybody is imperfect. Every activity in material world is giving misery. Their analysis bring to to a conclusion that if I get entangled in anything, I will get misery. So they become fearful of personal aspect of spiritual reality. They think that if in a spiritual world also if there is separate identity, then there has to be some relations. And if there will be relations, there will be frustration. So why spiritual nature should have any identity? It should be without identity. So their conception is, okay, there should be no variety in a spiritual world. All is one. Buddhists are a step down. They think there is no spiritual nature only, zero. After death, one step higher. They think, no, there is not zero, there is one. Everything is one. It's Brahma Jyoti. When we go there, everybody will just merge into it. No more relations, no more fault finding, no more miseries, nothing. You are just blank. So that kind of fear of spiritual identity they have, and therefore they cannot believe on the spiritual nature of the Supreme Lord. Okay.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. So I am in Sridham, Mayapur, and I offered prayers for all of you in the Holy Dham and for your good health. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Krishna, Krishna. Thank you,
Tomorrow,
Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.